Prince?
I did. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Let me just check the group and make sure that we are live in there. And say hello as you are tuning in. And we will get rock and roll. All right. Looks like we are in. Can we hear us? Yep. Cool. And my screen is not blurry this time. Awesome. All right. Awesome. What'd you say?
I said bonus.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Technology. So welcome, everybody. This is our second episode in the Abundant Motivation Group. This is to inspire you, enrich your life, encourage you, teach you, lead you, and everything else moving into your day, going into the next week, right? So these are going to be short, 10 minutes, hopefully around that area, plus or minus. And that way it's not a burden for you. You can just jump on, get some, some motivation, and then you're on with your day. So hope you get value from this. We did, as you saw, for the post was today's topic is breaking the barriers of the past. All right. So we're going to talk about that today and how you can use that in your life. What's up, Michael? Thanks for tuning in, brother. And hopefully, everybody that is watching, that if you were on last week, you did what we said, right? We wanted you to think about what your competitive advantage was. What was something that you wanted, that you're good at, that you enjoy, that you can do with your life. And it doesn't have to be, it's not, has to be this and only this. I mean, but something that you truly enjoy, that you think you can make into an income that you can start moving towards in your life. Because if you're doing what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, so, but yeah. So, Jay, anything to add to today's topic?
I was gonna say, you sound like Mark Twain there.
Yeah, try.
Not Mark Twain. Who said that? That was the Rich Dad Poor, or not Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Kiyosaki?
No. Who wrote the book that
Napoleon Dynamite?
No.
Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill, not Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite wrote that book.
All right. We got to move on. All right. So welcome, everybody. We got some more folks jumping on now. What's up, Evan? Good to see you, brother. All right. So today is about breaking the barriers of the past. The decisions you make today will determine where you are going in the future, right? I mean, they will influence it. The decisions you made 5 years ago, a year ago, they influence where you are today. And those decisions are influenced by what's in your upbringing, your environment, how you were reared, what people put into you, teachers, parents, grandparents, whatever it is. Those are generational things that are going to be put into you that you now believe, right? And those are how you see the world. I could see the world totally differently than the way you see the world because I had a different upbringing, right? And that could be good or a bad thing. So there's generational, if you want to call them generational sins, so to speak, there's generational sins of addiction. There's generational sins of depression. Maybe it's debt, right? Maybe it's overspending. Maybe it's underspending and just, being like a hoarder of money. Like it's like you can't even spend a penny, right? That's sometimes worse. You feel like, money is, you look at money as a curse, right? You look at it as a bad thing that maybe you'll never attain, or maybe it causes problems or whatever. Maybe you grew up in a family that was really well off, but still unhappy, right? I mean, there's generational sins that'll affect how you see things now, and I don't want to speak the whole time. Jay, jump in anytime you want. But
I was just going to add about just like the money one. Like I remember in a lot of the teaching stuff that I've gone through in the years, they talk about how people have those ideas about money, right? Like that money is the root of all evil. And, one of the authors, like his dad had told him, I'm not a Rockefeller, it's like they give you the feeling that money's hard to come by, right? And that gets ingrained in you. And it becomes your beliefs about money, right? And this isn't just about money, but it's just one of those things, like it just becomes part of you and you don't even realize it. And you have to break those bonds.
Yeah. It's like almost like your heritage, right? Yeah. And, I come from a heritage, and I'll share, get a little vulnerable with y'all. Is my mother she's literal, like clinically shopaholic, right? If there was money in her pocket, she was spending it. She did not come from, she grew up with her father was an alcoholic. He was verbally abusive and he hoarded money. So she saw money as something that it was unattainable for her. So when she had it, she had to enjoy it then. Otherwise she's not going to get it again. So she just spent. And that caused a huge problem in my parents' marriage. And unfortunately, my parents are divorced now. But, it's one of those things where there was a constant fight, a constant struggle. My entire life, I heard my parents fighting about money. My dad would try to save it. She'd spend it. Right. And, and obviously there takes two to tango. I'm not saying my mom's a horrible person or anything like that, but she fought that was her demon. Right. And so for me, what I have to do is I have to decide to break that. I have to decide to break that generational curse. And I can either succumb to it and make an excuse and be like, well, my mom always spent money, so I'm going to spend all my money, right? Or I can decide to, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend money the minute I get it in my pocket. I'm going to put money away to invest and give to my children and have, and what's funny is my wife, she came from totally different. Like they're total savers, right? They have no idea about spending. Like they don't even think about going out and spending, $300 on a meal. Like they would just never do that, right? Just totally different mindset. And it's good because we're kind of a blend now. But yeah, you have to decide, and you cannot make it an excuse. You cannot use it as an excuse to define your future. Anything to add to that, Mr. J?
Yeah, I mean, my family situation was not about money, but my parents were both alcoholics, not abusive, not fall down drunk. They didn't none of that stuff. But they came home and drank all evening. Come home from work, my dad would sit down with gin and tonic and the newspaper and go through a bottle of gin. Right? I mean, every single night, and that was what I grew up with. And there's nothing bad about it. Like when I was a kid, I never really thought about it, right? It wasn't bad, but I just didn't have a relationship with my dad, really. His relationship was with that newspaper and the gin, and my mom did the same thing with whatever her drink was, And it, again, not bad people. They weren't abusive. There's nothing terrible about it, but that was just something like I just ended up not drinking, right? I just decided
Oh, you froze up, Jay. Still there? Oh, we lost you when you said you decided.
I decided I was going to become Superman. No, I decided that I wasn't going to drink, and I grew up very athletic when I was younger and got into other things, but I just never drank. Like most youths drink at some point, right? They try it, they like it, they don't like it, whatever. Most of them don't like it and they drink anyway, right? Because it's just,
right.
Social pressures and things, but I just decided I wasn't going to do it. And I just never did. And I didn't drink probably until I was 30, like had my first drink where I was like, oh, I'll try it. And I'm like, oh, this isn't that great. Why are people doing this? Yeah. And I still only drink once or twice a year, but it's just something I just never did. And it was just because I was like the opposite. I just didn't want that. Right. And again, it wasn't something terrible, but I broke that stigma of what I thought things should be like. Right. Because like David said, you just kind of adopt those beliefs.
Yeah, you didn't let it define you. You learned from it, and you became better because of it. And that's what you have to do. You have to claim the blessing, right? You have to claim the blessing. You have to say right here and now that I'm not going to be an alcoholic. I'm not going to have an addiction. I'm not going to go through life depressed. I'm not going to go through life struggling with money. I'm going to change. It doesn't matter that, my father, and I'm speaking like really my father, I grew up seeing him literally like working him to the bone, obviously to try to make as much money as he could because there were 7 of us. And also my mom was spending it left and right. Right. So, he was a preacher, and so preachers are poor. And so he started his own business and did very well in that. But, he worked his fingers to the bone. And I claim for my family that I don't have to work my fingers to the bone in manual labor to provide for my family. Right. I claim that I can work smarter, not harder. Right. I don't have to be outside in manual labor, breaking my back and not going to be able to do it when I'm 60. You know what I'm saying? And so you have, whatever that is for you, you have to claim that today and say that is going to change. Right. That your future issues or future blessings start now. I highly recommend Slight Edge. Who wrote the Slight Edge?
I can't remember.
It's Jeff Olson. Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. If you have not read it, read that book. It's very similar to The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I personally like it a little bit better, but it's, you're here, right? But tiny little decisions along the way, they don't seem like a lot now, Snickers bars or an apple a day, right? But over time, that's going to be like a huge gap. And so that applies to everything: money, education, attitude, mentality, depression, healthy relationships, marriage, everything. So you decide today that you're going to change that for your family, and you have to make that decision. We talked a little bit about it last week, right? Making a decision to become part of the top 10%. Well, this is the same thing. Make a decision to change your family, change your life.
I was just going to add on there that it doesn't mean that, even if David has money, right, it doesn't mean that he's successful, because we know people that have money, right, that have money, they worked hard, they made a bunch of money, but they're still not satisfied, right? They don't feel complete, right? And so all of these things that we've talked about today and last week, and that we're always going to be talking about, is just making a better version of you, right? And this is part of it, is finding what it is that makes you happy and pursuing that, changing these things in your life. Think about, if you have kids, what are those things your kids are inheriting right now from you, right? And think about that, like in 30 years when they're an adult and they look back, what are the chains they're going to be trying to break that they grew up with, those beliefs that you're giving them right now about money or alcohol or anything, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be any of those things.
Yep.
But
it's very true.
It's important.
It's funny you said, I saw something on Instagram, believe it or not. It said, fix yourself before you have kids, so your kids don't have to fix themselves from you. And it's true. It's so true. And so, but what's awesome, and where's the topping, the cherry on top of this entire conversation is, if we're going to talk a lot about money, because this is obviously we're all trying to be successful, right? We're in here. You joined our team to find a way to another financial avenue, right? So we're going to talk a lot about money in here, but all that being said, what's the number one? This is a true statistic. The number one reason for divorce is financial issues, right? Money. And so you all have a powerful vehicle to change your financial future, and like I said, we talked about relationships, we talked about emotion, we talked about all that, but finances are something that everybody, unless you're a nun or a monk, are going to think about, right? Especially if you have a family, you want to have kids in the legacy, right? So you have your fingers on one of the most powerful vehicles there is. I Am Academy, our team Abundance, and which can literally change your life in so many ways. Jay and I are both products of the product, right? But the thing is, are you truly utilizing it? And I know a lot of you are, but really deep down in soul search, are you treating it like a business? Are you fully acting like you are sitting on $1 million business? Because you are. So take it seriously. And, people say money can't buy happiness, but it can solve a lot of issues. It absolutely can.
I can't remember who the author was, but he said, he always heard money can't buy happiness, but think of all the things that you could write a check for that would take away that headache, right? Right. If you get rid of enough headaches, you're pretty close to being happy, right? At least you're in a position to go do the things that can make you happy, right? Go spend that time with your family or whatever it is that makes you happy. Being able to write checks for those things helps, right? Not having those burdens of stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to wrap it up. We're a little over 10 minutes now, but got some really awesome comments. I'm going to read through these, but thank you for everybody that popped on. Truly appreciate you. And, but yeah, that's what we wanted to share with you today. Make a decision. Let's start working towards creating a generation to come that is fruitful, and they don't have to break the chains that you create. So we got Michael Harrison. What's up? Evan, I got a Facebook user. I'm not sure who they are. They said absolutely, but I agree. They said they claim that too. Evan says, you own it, control what you control. Big and little decisions, choices, and actions today, right now, influence your future and possibly the ones around us. They absolutely do. Absolutely do. You're welcome, brother. You're welcome. And Yeah. So, and whoever is on a Facebook user, if you just click at the top of this, it'll say, allow us to see, your name through StreamYard, because I'm using StreamYard as a streaming tool. Oh, it's Jackie. Hey, what's up, Jackie? Good to see you. Awesome.
I see JM Frank on here as well.
Oh, is
that Jackie?
Yeah, that's
Jackie.
Jackie.
It just switched. I see. It did say, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So thank you for jumping on. We definitely appreciate everybody. And we're going to end it here. We got to jump on the team session, but I will get this uploaded. I'm also doing, I don't know if y'all noticed, I'm doing SoundCloud links as well. So that way, say you miss one of these sessions on Friday, you're in the car, you can't watch, you can go to the SoundCloud link that I'll get uploaded soon, and you can just listen to it. So I hope y'all can get value from that as well. But everybody have a great weekend, and we will see everybody soon.
See you guys.